Hi. Well, it's good to be here today, and we're getting close to the end of Jeremiah here, and we're also getting really close to the end of Judah as we have known it, and we're coming to those final times where um, Zedekiah is put in charge here at the end. Um, by this time, Nebuchadnezzar has basically taken over and already thousands have been exiled into Babylon um, and taken captive. And I know that was a tactic that was used back then in warfare, that once you overcame a country in order to prevent it from kind of building up again, you took all the best and the brightest and you spread them out across your realm, because it made it very hard for them to communicate and organize anything. Of course, in our day and age, there's always cell phones and the internet, but in those days that was a pretty effective tool. Interesting of note here is this continuing now hammering of Babylon. God, through Jeremiah, is making it excessively clear to the people of Judah that Babylon's going to get theirs. And in fact, there were those amongst the Judahites who were actually accusing Jeremiah of favoring Babylon rather than Jerusalem. And so here, I guess, Jeremiah gets an opportunity to really lay it out. Now, that's, of course, after the fact that the people are in exile and will be so for decades under the rule of Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians. But I think the best way to look at this, even though it's historical in nature and certainly applies at this point to Babylonia, and yeah, there were lots of other countries and skirmishes and wars and battles, but this is by far the greatest calamity for Judah. I mean, it no longer exists for all intents and purposes after this, and yet God says, ultimately, I will punish Babylon, I will bring my people back, and I will establish a new covenant with them, as Heather mentioned yesterday. I thought that certainly points us to something new. We as a people, as God's people, we're not able to live up to the old covenant. What is God going to do to change that? And what's exciting is that God realizes if we're not up to the task of living out the law perfectly, somebody's going to have to, and his son comes to do that for us. So that's exciting, but certainly in the midst of everything for the people, there are a lot of distresses and difficulties and struggles that go on. And on one hand, I'd like to look at this, though, beyond Babylonia, beyond Nebuchadnezzar, and think of it in terms of any worldly powers that seek to dominate and rule and lead people or turn people away from God to other gods. And let's move past history, let's even move into the modern day. That's still happening today, and there are still those who attempt to move us away from God and into a direction that would lead us back under some sort of tyranny, and that makes life really miserable for people. There are many kingdoms and rulers in this country, in this world right now, who punish and terrify their people. We happen to live in a country where we are blessed that that does not occur, and we give thanks to God for that. But in many places, maybe we're insulated a little bit, but in many places around the world, that is not the case. But God does say the day will come when all of that will be cast aside, and not to sound sacrilegious here in any respect, but it's almost God saying, he who laughs last laughs best, and God will have the last laugh. The enemies will all be defeated, and that's something we can trust in. Now, it ends here going back to Jeremiah, earlier in Jeremiah, and we have this account where at one king, I believe it's Zedekiah, is all excited because Egypt is coming up out of the south, and it looks like coming to Judah's aid. Well, Jeremiah squashes that and says, no, they will turn around and head back home, and certainly, ultimately, they do in the end. So there was no help there. But how much it is in our world that we're always looking for someone who will come and take away the distresses of life, who will take away the pain and the suffering. Um, and we seem to think that that is something that's possible. We have a God who says the truth of it is we live in a world, we are a sinful people in a sinful world, and this world groans under the weight of sin, and it is winding down. God knows that. He doesn't sugarcoat it for us, but what he says is, in the midst of it, I am with you, I will see you through, and I have gone before you, and in the end, the victory will be mine. And so, unlike other things in this world, whether it be money, wealth, rulers, or anything else, who promise some things, but ultimately can't relieve us of all the distresses and the struggles of life. We have a God who says, I am with you in the midst of it, and I will lead you home. And so today I think we can take a great comfort from that, and hopefully that's what the people of Judah did at that time when they heard Jeremiah's words, or at least some of them, to realize that, don't worry, God is still in control, even though it is their darkest hour. Hopefully you're not having your darkest hour today. If you are, my prayers are with you. Remember, God is there with you as well. If you have a great day, I thank God for that, and look forward to talking with you again. We'll talk to you soon.